Hello guys, this is the Gaming Revolution here and welcome back to an all new Call of Duty World War II Zombies video. Today we're going to be talking about Resurrecting Barbarossa's sword and us upgrading this sword within the DLCs, because this is inevitably going to be happening at some point. I think that it is pretty obvious. Now I don't know how Sledgehammer Games are going to implement this, whether they're going to do it so that we can obtain this sword fully upgraded within DLC 4, or whether they're going to do it via some sort of super Easter egg where we're going to collect all of the parts of the sword and then we will make our way back to the final Reich and then be able to upgrade the sword. It is too early to tell at the moment, but we are definitely going to be fully upgrading this sword within the DLCs, and that's what I want to talk about today. So anyways, if you do go on to enjoy this video, by the end of it, make sure to drop a like down below. Let's try and go for 1,115 likes on today's video as well. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future upload here on the channel. Don't forget to turn notifications on to ensure furthermore that you never miss an upload. But with that all out of the way, let's get straight on into the video. So the first thing that I want to say is, do not mistake this sword with the red talon sword that you get within the Easter egg, the hardcore Easter egg within the final Reich, that I do have a full tutorial on my channel, which I will leave linked in this video's description. This sword that I'm going to be talking about in today's video is something completely separate to that, to do with Barbarossa. Now if you're unaware about the legend of Barbarossa, I obviously mention this in just about every video I make, but the legend goes something like this. So Resurrecting Barbarossa was the king of Germany, and he actually made his way to become the emperor of Rome. And what happened is that after he died, the legend says that he is not actually dead, but simply lies asleep with his knights within a cave within the Kaifhauser mountain in Thuringia or Mount Untersberg in Bavaria, Germany, which is where Mittelberg is, the village of Mittelberg, and the village of Mittelberg is the final Reich. That is the location of the map. So that's how the two tie together. And the legend goes that when the ravens cease to fly around the mountains, he will awake and restore Germany back to its greatness once again. And according to the story, his red beard has grown through the table at which he sits, and his eyes are half closed in sleep. But now and then he raises his hand and sends a boy out to see if the ravens have stopped flying. So that is how come we have tons of references within World War II Zombies to do with ravens. We obviously have the raven tokens to unlock our mods, and we also have the raven jump scares all the time as well, where we see ravens fly. That is the big link between the two. Now within the casual Easter egg within the final Reich, after we have gone ahead and defeated the Panzermortar boss, and unfortunately Klaus has ended up dying and we haven't saved him, we retrieve the hilt of Barbarossa's sword. And if we complete the hardcore Easter egg, what happens is we again defeat the Panzermortar boss by blowing up the Zeppelin, but this time Klaus ends up being saved, and I will come on to the reason why he is saved within the hardcore Easter egg ending but not the casual Easter egg ending, even though the endings are pretty much the same. But within the hardcore Easter egg, not only do we collect the hilt of Barbarossa's sword, but we also collect Rabenhurt's crystal, which makes the sword more powerful. Now within the notebook information, it says the following: believed to be the hilt of a sword belonging to Frederick I, the infamous German Duke who rose to become king and then Holy Roman Emperor in only a few short years, the hilt appears to have been immovable for more than 700 years, suspended in a field that has defied all modern attempts of manipulation. So this information that I'm going to read right now is coming off of Wikipedia. So Resurrecting Barbarossa's sword is a mystical blade of unknown origins that once belonged to the German Holy Emperor Resurrecting Barbarossa. At an unknown certain point in time, the sword was broken into pieces and scattered across the world in order to prevent the Emperor's resurrection. So within the final Reich, our characters were trying to save Klaus, and by us trying to save Klaus, who is Marie Fischer's brother, that is why we were trying to save Klaus, because she wanted to obviously save her brother, we accidentally went ahead and collected these pieces of the sword, thinking that we were doing a good deed by saving Klaus, but it's made the situation worse because they were that step further to resurrecting the Emperor, which is going to cause havoc. Now we know that the hardcore Easter egg is the canon ending, so the actual ending is us collecting the hilt as well as the Rabenhurt's crystal, but the casual Easter egg where we just collect the hilt is not the actual ending. So during World War II, the hilt of the sword was discovered in a chamber within the salt mines of a sleepy mining town of Mittelberg. Klaus Fischer, a worker at the mines, was convinced that he could present the hilt to Hitler to prove his worth. After using his connections to contact the Nazis, the Anna B eventually arrived in the village, and Klaus was introduced to the Dr. Prater Straub, whom he then took to the mines to present the hilt. Straub then put Mittelberg on lockdown and prevented all residents from leaving. So we obviously have the statue of Barbarossa, which is where the hilt is. So whilst trying to remove the hilt, the Nazis discover that the hilt is protected by a strange magnetic force. Despite this, however, the Nazis were able to find a way to siphon energy from the hilt, dubbing said energy Geizkraft. During an early experiment to draw power from the hilt, a cable overheated and snapped, striking 2 guards and instantly killing them. However, they soon began to violently twitch and reanimate before getting up and walking towards a surprised Straub with the intention of killing him. However, more guards arrived and put the 2 down. With this incident, Straub soon discovered the key to completing his task of creating an army for Hitler, as well as a vision of the latter's future, utilizing the Geizkraft energy from the hilt. Straub was able to create a vast army of the undead, while one of his associates, Heinz Richter, was able to create various weaponry with the energy, such as the Tesla gun and its variants with the use of special Überschnell batteries. However, tensions rose between Straub and Richter when the latter sought to use more Geizkraft energy for more weapons. While this happened, Klaus, who became aware of Straub's true intentions with the power of the Geizkraft energy from the hilt, decided to begin to sabotage Straub's work. While he did this, he discovered that the art within the chamber told a story, one that told the true reason why the sword was separated, as well as a secret organization that was dedicated to keep the history and powers of the sword hidden and out of hands of anyone else. Sometime later, Klaus finally released the undead onto the town to put an end to Straub's evil before he could realize Straub's most powerful zombie, the Panzermörder. Straub caught him. As punishment, he fused Klaus with the beast before going into hiding, while Richter manned a zeppelin in the skies above the city to get away from the developing situation. Sooner or later, an MFAA team consisting of Klaus's sister Marie, as well as Drosten Hind, Olivia Durant and Jefferson Potts, arrives at the city thanks to intel given to them by Klaus. Now, the MFAA are the Monuments, Fine Arts and Archives program, so they went there to retrieve the fine art, the stolen art that was stolen by the Axis powers, and that is obviously the art that Klaus was talking about earlier that was telling the story of the sword. So they managed to search through the town, discovering the research bunker and the hilt of the sword still in its chamber. After a series of trials, the group manages to break the magnetic force around the hilt with the use of the Tesla gun, as well as the Rabenherz, a mysterious crystal that is part of the sword's hilt. Upon attaching the 2 pieces together and regrouping on the surface level, they found Klaus fused to the Panzermörder. After a long battle, the group is able to defeat the Panzermörder by placing 3 charged Überschnell batteries on it, causing it to be pulled to Richter's zeppelin via a magnet. In a desperate attempt to escape, the Panzermörder accidentally zipped a hole in the zeppelin, causing it to explode, killing the beast, Richter and Klaus in the process, with Klaus's body landing in front of the group at the riverside. However, the group accidentally discovers the special powers that the complete hilt holds, the power of resurrection. They proceed to accidentally resurrect Klaus, who realizes what Marie has done and lashes out at her and the others for their actions before straggling into the village, constantly rambling before reaching the well trap. Klaus then warns the group to continue fighting and that the Emperor must not return before reactivating the trap, engulfing him in the flames. So essentially, by us collecting the hilt as well as the Rabenherz crystal, the reason why the casual Easter egg is different to the hardcore Easter egg, even though the endings are identical, we both end up blowing up the zeppelin which kills the Panzermörder and Klaus. The reason why the endings are different is because within the casual Easter egg we only obtain the hilt of Barbarossa's sword, which doesn't allow us to resurrect Klaus, but by us doing the hardcore Easter egg we collect the Rabenherz crystal, which does allow us to resurrect Klaus. And when we resurrect him, and I'm showing some footage on screen right now that is from Unpunk Rock, I will leave a link to his channel in this video's description. I keep showing this same footage. I probably should go ahead and complete the Easter egg myself so I can go ahead and get my own footage of this. But anyways, Klaus ends up going up to the fire trap and he says, "Do not let the Emperor return," and then we thought he ended up killing himself within the fire. However, Cameron Dayton, the creative director for World War II Zombies, has confirmed that he hasn't killed himself, so he most likely just teleported. So this sword has secret powers, and one of the powers when the Rabenherz crystal is attached to it is that it can resurrect people and things. So that's how can we resurrect Klaus. Now I would assume by resurrecting him he's become possessed as well, and he knows of the future, and he also seems to have the power of teleportation. So I'm assuming Klaus will return within the DLCs, but but he says do not let the Emperor return. He seems possessed and he knows that by us resurrecting the Emperor, it's going to just make this situation a lot worse. So within the DLCs, we're going to be collecting the other parts of this sword. Is because by us completing the hardcore Easter egg and collecting the hilt and the Rabenherz crystal of Barbarossa's sword, we thought we were doing a good deed because Marie was trying to save her brother Klaus. However, by us saving her brother, we've actually done a worse deed because we're that step closer to resurrecting the Emperor Barbarossa. And now the powers of the weapon have unknown origins. The sword is shown to be powered by a special type of energy dubbed Geistkraft. This energy can be used to resurrect the dead, as demonstrated during an early experiment when the MFAA accidentally used the hilt to resurrect Klaus. The energy is also used to create special weaponry such as the Tesla gun, as well as the Ubenschnau batteries, which are key to upgrading the Tesla gun even more. As explained by Straub in his recordings, the Geistkraft energy from the sword can be used to trigger the most primitive parts of the human cerebellum, as well as preserve the undead and drive them. Straub also discovers that they are triggered by the pain receptors on the corpses. With the energy, he can augment the zombie strength and speed and ultimately create an undead army at his disposal. As hinted by Klaus, if the sword is fully restored, its power could ultimately resurrect the Emperor himself. So essentially, this inflicts pain on the zombies, which makes them more powerful and faster. But yeah, I wonder if because Klaus has become exposed to this, whether he will turn into a zombie himself. Now, I think that this is possible. This is a theory that I have. Maybe he will turn into a zombie himself within one of the DLCs because he seemed possessed within the ending by Barbarossa. That was the vision that I got. Now, we know that the next map is going to be taking place within the Heligoland Islands within Germany, within the north of Germany. And we know that this island used to be known as Holy Island. We know that Barbarossa was a holy emperor, so it only makes sense that the next part of the sword is going to be located there. I think our characters are going to be collecting all of the parts of the sword is because they don't really know what they're doing. They think they're doing a good deed and they don't realize by us collecting all of the sword pieces, it will resurrect the Emperor. They probably think by us collecting all of the sword pieces, we can stop the zombie outbreak, but we'll actually just make the situation worse because if we resurrect the Emperor, I would assume he would release a lot more evil onto the world. The zombies would most likely become a lot more powerful and he would probably unleash some even worse zombies as well. So yeah, I don't know if we're going to resurrect the Emperor Barbarossa within DLC 4 or whether it's going to be via some sort of super Easter egg just like we saw within Infinite Warfare Zombies where we fought Mephistopheles. But that will happen once we've collected all the sword pieces and we'll be able to use the sword itself. I would assume it's going to be a very, very powerful sword. Now, I was thinking to myself, the reason why I think this could be a super Easter egg is because what if we have collected all the sword pieces, we have to go back to the final Reich and place the pieces within the hilt or the statue, and that resurrects Barbarossa because Barbarossa is laid within the final Reich. That is where he is located within Mittelberg. So it would only make sense that we had to go back to the final Reich in order to resurrect Barbarossa, even if we've collected all of the sword pieces on another map, for example DLC 4. And we'll probably fight him as a boss fight. Now, we did get this trailer released by Vesk. Now, this is a very, very early alpha version of the final Reich, and you can see the map's very different because there was going to be a different boss fight on the map where the bridge would actually be a drawbridge instead, and the boss would be a different boss. And I was wondering if maybe this ties into a super Easter egg when we get the sword and we will fight this boss within the final Reich. And I had a theory that maybe this boss is Klaus. Now, this is a wild theory, but as you were saying earlier, he has been exposed to the Geistkraft, which could possibly turn him into a zombie himself, and maybe they're going to reuse this boss as a boss within some sort of super Easter egg within the final Reich. I think that would be a very cool thing to see, but that is just a theory. But yeah, I think there is going to be some sort of super Easter egg once we've fully upgraded the sword and we've resurrected Barbarossa. I'm sure we're going to go back to the final Reich at some point. Maybe we'll unlock double pack-a-punch on that map or something like that. But yeah, let me know all of your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. The sword holds great powers that we just do not know at the moment, and we'll find out within the DLCs. But anyways, thanks for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not here for latest and greatest World War II zombies news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.